recording.
Battery 100%. Connected. Sign.
Anybody not ready? This very week, my white teacher showed a video of white people encouraging the class to say the N-word during a book discussion. I was called too aggressive. A 6-year-old black girl was handcuffed and arrested in school for throwing attention on Florida. Education systems are a sign of anti-blacks, and I'm fucking done.
Watching our own brothers trying to get at us. Dreams get shattered when a scene full of crackers and they try to do with some shit you ain't do. You like what happened? We go get lawyers, say shit we don't know how to talk. They told us to hate each other before we learn how to walk. Mama taught you how to fight before she taught you how to write. And daddy locked down in the cell. Can get you night monsters under the bed. Every night feel like a fright night, coke fumes in the air. Mama holding on that pipe tight and you catch your contact. But never mind that. In the world where black is wrong is white right. It's like a combat. We go to war for our freedom. They say we equal. I used to want to play like Randy and be an eagle. I used to play the quarterback. My dog would go receiver. That was to the ball, got flat by a dope needle on the pavement. It's amazing, this environment we was raising. On them papers, one mistake and I'm getting caged in. You gotta feel me. Feel like the system trying to kill me. Got arrested and the charges at one. For popping with the
Topic lit attempts to make black students better students code for white indemnity values blacks as all education systems are anti-black and inaccessible to slavery. We work outside the topic because the severity of anti-black instruction needs to be completely destroyed before we work with any structure to watch the team. Education policy side of anti-black black struggle against assault to school slave want to be black property for them learn to understand the social name being black is with education always that anti-black allows the capture deaths of suffering of black children and education in predominantly white schools. Schools can be celebrated as diversified after black students slave no place in school spaces and debate is structured to exclude black bodies communication on a level playing field right of creativity and futurity slave people I never heard of pushed up right of communicate right of object or feature slave not proper the kind of pick writer it was just a kind of continuation of still sided black communication always seems an instrument sort of feature free debate for the pain surfing other middle patch you can never hear the slave the screen and white and still living in a hyper no debate black is coherent legible it's open black is to gratuitous violence until society just loves 15 black life is a life lived non-existent black exist as symbol that is was not black exist only as far as black white nutrition on the map anti-black violence on the white hybrids the fixed blacks and sound with all the fixation blacks mental experience that over and over again in world self it's like all fixing the real trends of gratuitous violence security system on the white hybrid white this land taking type black trap even saying it's trap because the trap is the world black sends to the location where words will go back to not the grammar time to speak against words traps and blacks no articulate the same out of white and white and continue to send black and strange possibility where future black was unfriendable to the limited kind of white symbolism do not think that challenges John was no knowing seeing understand the world where people are translated their language use already contain their demons and responsible to their density there's content of the strength that link to hope on the mind they will say we're trying to make the world better I say the world should not exist at all well so too no other body functions positive or complete sort of level real from access below black body function map gratuitous violence with silver side possible level symbolic for black generational history pastoral heritage level imaginary corruptions rapes black corpses prisons of black corpses AIDS since black abolition will feel if it's always a position incoherent with black subject again just to reconfiguration of single side of black slave weight and silver side requires gratuitous violence of blacks to function silver side precondition to the sort of slave effect that whiteness cannot say their own graphs dirty slave criminal on the black bodies will intent so it's not a sign before after a certain population growth in Europe place growth in Africa slavery condition we own trade ship comes from Europe to America or Northern Europe Africa then America Europe and child slave 50,000 white slave a year class for warfare would have been unlike the society whatever and do a very high development in America the whites when the game economic value lost and civil value change limiting common society takes note on the income limited cost of slave whites or whites for anti-legal laws for claiming that anyone who's working shall become enslaved to the man still society little sickness used to word death violence to do the content of the whites said these ordinances are ridiculous contingency that I'm saying so no recognize limited cost of turning blue whites and the flux limited economy is to a constant investment saving divided away from white violence for a checking point before it becomes true that after saving our president ethical and for society limits on thought and the role of being appearing also accepting is your nihilist responsibility problems any festival optimism effective investment programs to be done to the psychological palliatives that people with terror understanding the world from whole to share what's the routine your face is a person who wants something coherent so mindful so the quick analysis of this fashion to so what is to be done to the totality of fashion we live in is beyond reach just a consummate social peer analysis let me come up with names to help black people stay in the whole of the ship to learn more about the totality of the history of black and president move through what is to be done realize that our language are part of other people's problems at least we don't have a strategy for this in the world we don't have a corrupt our peers space peer analysis and let's say things around the house raise a symbolic exchange of terrorists against the black organization remember that evidence indicated that no black liberation happened in space the message we're talking about only by being pierced in the space of opposites and the world's left you too question like can the black civil rights to the inability to access the criminals, suffering to get harmed, that can have been while our unique is death opens for the end of humanity. We do not have the world to end the world only through death. The welcome to the system, only for the women that are all dead black here, black dead, black here, figures so well because of the way the kids want to be possibly functionality. And black performance is good for pedagogy and rural education. And no read this about we break down white and small embracing black people as well. The big is a change to have voice and heard black people, black students are put as something not seen or heard. You can't grow, you grow as a person norms. We don't about making feel shouldn't have to conform or seeking to perform to create their own space of performance, race, sounds, or sound before words. This was whiteness is unmarked, no one, therefore, investment side performance being talked about violence. Voice space are being heard with the word arts, race talk, this the white world, no possibility of that the place of the debate is a ground of civil like, culture civil like, in an activity norms use the sounds to show the reality like ways we say, holding as accountable as excuse and not let's accept the white spirit experience, though not 14. No, the procedures within the debate have to determine the order of discourse black debaters who engage on the debate that should not be reduced in. Have a choice to go how they want to engage debate norms are excluding traditional debate equivalent of fluent individual towards the reality and minute. The difference of discourse style between students allows for the black community to alter content and adequate representation literature. Using constructive type of field include reflection with their race literature. But there's a place for my voice. We whiteness mean that there's no place for black voice. Whiteness is able to thrive because it's unmarked, cut the card unmarked. And anti-blacks are prerequisite to solving every other form of oppression implemented by the state section 10. Every analysis that attempts to understand the racial rule without accounting for black system, knowledge in a chain of whoever is doing this was essential black system just related to totality. Every attempt to defend the rights of labor is the vacuum of the victim state oppression will fail to make substantial gain while blacks are board. The other Bible political control of all the lands for the anti-black subsided magnification state power terror was that people got the possibility of life, chaos, capable of the going back to force saving form beyond what the revolution. And capitalism relies on forming anti-blacks in our present world for existence, resolving anti-blacks and make capitalism possible. Blood so 19. President practice demonstrated lines of capital blacks space such as gentrification, incarceration, policing, incarceration along with public policy, and extradition, killing, squabbling black agencies, like anti-blacks on reduce global capitalism, black faces, black lips, wrestling black political economy, capitalism, flourishing to their enslaved black wall slaveholders, made forces. Shit is racist. I'll go for crossing DR.
Yeah. Everyone good? How does the app hijack the debate space?
What does that mean?
Like, you make a claim, like, one of the cards says that you hijacked the round. What does that mean?
We say, I take this round hostage as a way of, like, weaponization of blackness into black terrorism. We say that black terrorism is the only solution to end the anti-blackness, things like that. We said, the way we embrace black terrorism within the base space are things like this. Fuck the topic, fuck your nuance, fuck your t-shirt, fuck your t-shirt. We're rupturing the debate space from within, saying, fuck that, I don't give a shit, okay. We're gonna do what we want.
That's fine. So this app has been read before, right? It has? So then, did you take have you taken the round? Did you take the round hostage then?
Yeah, I did. And guess what? I'm 2-0, so I'm doing well. So.
Alright, so why do you need to read it in this round as well?
It's the same reasons that just because I won, it's not that I don't need to read it like less. We're still taking around hostage. We're still rushing to the debate space. I'm not done taking around hostage. I'm not done embracing like blackness within the debate space. I'm continuing it through every round. Once I win this tournament, kick everybody's ass. That is when we have rushed the system completely.
Alright, that's fine. The first card, does voting app lead to sort of black liberation?
What do you mean by black liberation?
So, a couple of your...
We say that voting app is a way to end anti-blackness, sure.
Is it a way to end anti-blackness? So then how does your performance in today's round like go out to like other places in the real world?
Oh, what does that mean?
So like, after you read the 1AC in this round, what happens in that?
Did Eric Garner get choked in debate or in the real world?
Did
Trayvon Martin get shot in debate or in the real world?
Yeah, that's exactly what my question
is. Gratuitous violence. It's in the app, but it happens in the real world too.
Right. So then, what does your performance today uniquely mean that we solve police brutality and other like forms of unlawful?
The higher structure of anti-blackness, like things like what the liability economy structures the world through, anti-blackness is able to be solved by using peer analysis or weaponizing blackness through like terrorization of blackness. So then, not to mention, also once I win this tournament, pretty sure news is going to get out outside of the debate space. So there's a lot of ways that we.
Right. So okay. So even if you win the tournament, how does that news going outside to the debate space stop the way that white police officers look at black people?
Well, that specifically is not the argument. The argument is that confronting the structure of anti-blackness is able to solve that. So, the limited economy structures people to be anti-black. So if we're ending the structure of anti-blackness as a whole, working against these systems, against the world, that is anti-black.
Reading the app is a way of disrupting anti-blackness as a whole.
I would encourage you to read some of the warrants in the case before like repeating the questions. The argument is using peer analysis as a way, like peer analysis, to analyze blackness and what is peer analysis? Is able to confront and combat this antagonism of anti-black destruction in the world.
Oh, okay. Then what is peer analysis?
Not the neg.
Okay, that's fine. The last question is like, you say that whiteness necessitates living in the hyper-real. What does this mean?
Yeah, so basically, the world itself, we're saying this is the hyper-real. Whiteness is operating
Debate
on
is the hyper-real?
It's within the hyper-real. Like, debate itself isn't the hyper-real, but it works within the hyper-real. And it's all functions.
But, did the judge start?
I did.
Oh.
Is this turning out 5 minutes of prep?
Yeah.
Okay.
The order is one of these.
Oh, I can send you the app too if you want it.
That's
Alright.
Actually, can you send it so that I can just reply all?
Yeah.
Back left at this point. Yep.
What?
That's the one that's too short. It's not unstable, it's just too short.
Thank you.
Be able to just bend it.
11 hours.
Starting your own case.
Top down, please. Alright, it's sent. Let me know when it goes. Oh, wait, sorry, I sent the wrong thing. I'm very sorry. That is the wrong thing. This is the right thing. The second lock.
So not the one in C Greenhill Road?
No, the one with today.
Okay. That would.
Right. Is everyone good?
Nah. I'll let you know. Wow. The wide strategy I'm planning.
Right. You good?
Yep.
Our interpretation is that topical affirmatives must defend that colleges and universities are not considered standardized tests in undergraduate admission decisions. The resolution should define the division of affirmative netting ground. It was negotiated and announced in advance, providing both sides with the reasonable opportunity to prepare and engage with one another's argument. The role of ballots is to decide a winner of the Rusler, and the role of the judge is to debate is to determine the desirability of a fiat topical action. This doesn't require the use of any particular style or type of evidence, and is not a call to tell you not to speak about your trauma or an assumption about the role of the judge. The topic is a limit on the content to determine the debate subject matter. So, colleges and universities are 2-year or 4-year undergraduate programs that offer associate's or bachelor's degrees. So you say 16 years college and university follows after high school or secondary school. College in the United States is not a high school or secondary school. College and university program beginning at 13th year of school. 2-year college or office and associate degree. 4-year college or university offers a bachelor's degree. These degrees are called undergraduate university offers with a bachelor's degree and graduate and standard access to a large scale test administered to a large population of students, state or nationwide. Business partnership 15. A standard access is one that requires all test takers to answer the same questions. 14. Standard access consistent manner. The term is associated with large scale tests administered to a large population of students. Vote negative for predictable ground and limits allowing the affirmative to pick any ground for the debate makes negative engagement impossible. By starting a predictable starting point and making our preparation research use as a lack of a plan also means that the affirmative can shift their advocacy and leader speeches instead of being tied to a particular type which obviates negative arguments. 3 impacts. First, it's fair that 8 point is that a particular stasis point is the only way to get the negative chance to win. Radical afterwards shifts the ground is the debate and put the F far ahead. Predetermined negative preparation is structured around topical plans as point of offense, which means that anything other than a topical plan structurally favors the affirmative. Sternberg and Freely 13. There must be controversy before they can be debated and cannot conclude effective decisions without clear identification of a question. You can think of many concerns to be addressed by a conversation about the topic is not likely to be productive without a particular question and identification of a line demarcating says that a proposition provides a focus and guides the decision. The proposition provides an essential guidance for the preparation of debaters. Without a focus and discussion, they could easily agree without finding any potential solution. But if a precise question was posed, then a more profitable discussion has opened up by placing a focus on the search for a solution to facilitate effective decision making by directing and placing limits on their decision. And basis for argumentation can be clearly defined. And B point is that fairness isn't intrinsic to debate. It's fundamentally a game and requires effective competition between the app and the neg. The only way for any benefit to produce from debate is if the judge can make a decision between two sides who have had a relatively equal chance to prepare for a common point of debate. And C point is that fairness also comes before substance. And deciding any argument in this round can cannot be disentangled from our inability to prepare for it. Any argument you think they're winning is a link, not a reason to vote for them, because it's just as likely that they're winning it because we weren't able to effectively prepare to defeat it. And second is idea testing, critical contestation over plan of action, and part skills vital to respond to social problems. The dialectical process of rigorous debate is key to developing exportable strategies we can effectuate. Well-prepared debates lead to in-depth argumentation, testing across multiple iterations, and force debaters to develop a second and third level response. Those deliberative skills outweigh and turn their impacts. Number 10, the democratic capabilities both by debate are critical thinking and the judgment and the industry's capacities can change, which is the reason that theorists rely high premium of education. Those skills that allow research and decisions that impact them in the future of citizenry. We will need to make evaluative choices about increasing competitive environment. Democracy faces challenges including class, gender, and racial justice. And third is advocacy skills, learning about the intricacies of college and university policies is uniquely capable to affect and change outside the debate space. Students must learn concrete and detailed demands on universities in order to combat colonial education and develop another university. Ruiz, 19 just when students are denied access to ethnic study. This means reproduce colonialism and internally higher education to disempower students when power of colonialism is taken away from faculty who work to meet the needs of the students. Upon the vegetables of colonial students are made visible, the office would plan to seize unit requirements. Students will be denied flexibility to select ethnic course studies. Whether students engage in activism is the most powerful instrument to measure ways in which they can apply lessons by ethnic studies of social justice, race relations, empower students, create subcommittees, and create a protocol for meeting students. Took the knowledge learned in ethnic studies as an inspiration to interrogate content and activism. Latinx students advocated for more research. The intimate details of demands illustrates how powerful activism can be, providing guiding lessons to apply intersectionality. One concrete proposal was equity and justice graduation requirements. Students transform the dialogue to offer concrete student learning outcomes to ensure educational equality. When taken seriously, students have articulated a plan of action. Another university is possible. The demands for equitable education is one insight into ways students reimagine universities that is life-affirming and proven in the context of the theory. Revolutionary education projects grounded in Afro-pessimist theory and concrete reforms are not incompatible, and the two complement each other. Their author Wilderson, 16, what I have to do, hope is for people to exercise around the two trains running side by side. When you can do political organizing, we need to educate ourselves to be against the United States. Even while working to reform, we do not have the strength to act in revolutionary mode. Let's use the space for an educational project that is soundly anti-American, even if tactically we have to work for reforms. And Wilderson is a paradigmatic example of simultaneously utilizing Afro-pessimist scholarship and working within the university. He uses his position literally in the university and the research that gives him to further an Afro-pessimist educational and revolutionary project. Justifies the topical version of the act defense that college and university should not consider the SAT and argue that the SAT is part of an anti-black legacy designed to sustain social death. The topical version of the app is an application of Devaney's theory to concrete context to make a particular demand that is not incompatible with broader revolutionary goals. The TVA is compatible with the app scholarship and solve the case. 18, advocating for the SAT cannot be ignored by the test sustainable past. The army test had proven like the Negroes, the Italians and Jews were genetically uneducable. This would be a waste of time to even give them a good Anglo-Saxon education. Let them admit into our fine schools. As Bingham used this work to develop the SAT scores don't correlate with the correct success. The process of SAT test selection is flawed and racially biased. When the SAT tries to have a new argument, they put these questions in a trial section, and the test taker gets the trial question correct, then they go into score high, then the question is deemed valid. A question that then gets included in a future test. This means that the SAT is populated by questions that high-scoring tests SAT takers get correctly. This process creates a self-reinforcing cycle of race and class inequality. The black and Latino students who get these trial questions right don't outscore the white students, and high test takers are more likely to be white tend to answer the question correctly. Reproduces racially disparate test results in an internally reinforcing cycle. And T is drop the debater. One point is deterrence, which are dropping the debater will be best because it shows that they can't run positions that could spread throughout the community and harm debate as a whole. Two is that it's not what you do, it's what you justify. Voting for me sets a precedent in favor of a positive model of debate. Wins and losses determine the direction of the activity. 3, the role of the judge is to be an educator and decide who did the better debating. They should punish those who choose uneducational and abusive practices. This makes the whole debate community better and teaches them that better debating can be done without abuse and no RVS. 1 is that RVS are logical. You shouldn't win for just not being abusive or being topical. Meeting your clear on burden is what is expected of you. This becomes before other arguments because a specific logical argument just don't make sense. And 2, RVS deter debates from running through because the debaters will get really good at winning the RVS debate without an abusive case. Magnifies unfairness and no substantive education, so everybody would just use abusive positions on case. Presume neg 1, they do literally nothing and have no spillover claims, which means that there's no impact of voting after. If they're challenging of the structures of anti-blackness in this round is good, then that means that the TVA solves all of their offense because they can still engage and also give us predictable ground, which leads to in-depth debates, and we have focus on how we can actually disrupt those notions better. And second, their author works within the academy and has disrupted how people understand and relate to blackness. Definitely proves that working within the academy is key to sustaining the change that they want. Only our model creates the deliberative dialogues necessary to disrupt the structures in the world, which means that they can't solve any of their own impacts. And the theories of ontological blackness rely on Eurocentric dialects and the white heroic genius, defining blackness as those whiteness created denies paradigmatic analysis like maroonist, slave revolts, and nocturnal rebellion. Anderson, 95 racist and metaphorical ontology denotes essential properties that lack and one renders a pseudo-species in the West radical representation is identified with genius. The cult of European genius determines how African Americans represent themselves. Ontological blackness signifies blackness that whiteness created. Ontological blackness extends a categorical racial reasoning. The conscious lives of black are bounded by unresolved binary dialects of slavery. Such polarities admit no possibility of transcendence. Ontological blackness signifies the totality of black existence. All of the arguments on case that they're gonna that they say that debate excludes black bodies. This the cards that they read are specific to things like communication and communication, which means that debate is the necessary space in which we can actually challenge them and not have a single monologue, which is what the model of the affect course. If we voting neg ensures that there's an actual dialogue that shows how to disrupt these structures.
What in the doc was not really great?
Everything after Anderson.
So the only card you read was Anderson?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take everything out and then we can start series.
Yeah.
Okay. Anderson. Okay, good?
Yep.
What is the terminal impact to fairness?
Fairness, it leads to, there are 3 impacts. First, it's a predictable stasis point.
Terminal impact to fairness.
It's an intrinsic good to debate.
That means nothing. What terminally happens when I'm unfair in the debate space?
We can't engage with your position and we can't challenge these structures that you say are
And that matters why?
Because the AF is about challenging structures. If we can't engage with... Huh? You said in cross-ex that you want to challenge the structures of AF.
Why should debate exist?
To reform the ways that we think about the world and so that we...
Is that the one in C?
Why should debate exist? I think all of the arguments we make are why our model of debate.
Can you give me specific lines that you had in the 1 and C of reasons why debate should exist?
I think almost every argument in the 1 and C is a reason.
Obviously, we're not going to do that bullshit. The specific arguments that show like debate should exist before like any warranted arguments on why debate should exist. Are there any reasons?
Yeah.
For that? If so, what are they? Because I'm trying to like.
All of the advocacy skills argument are portable things that we can take away from debate.
Is there a link in the 1N about advocacy skills and why that's important to debate?
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying like, oh, let's assume this means debate is good. I'm saying, is there a link from what you're saying to why debate is good, explicitly in the 1N or anywhere in your like on your rebuttal? If so, tell me now, because I'm trying to get an understanding of where we're going.
Yes, the Ruiz 19 card provides empirical examples of how people use advocacy skills to create real change in the real world. Our argument is that by having a mode of debate in which
creating change in the real world is why debate is good.
That is one of the reasons, yes.
Why should the world exist? Why should the world even exist?
Because people should live.
Well, black people, I mean, they're obviously not living in this world, so why should the world exist?
Again, I don't think you've proven that.
Is there any reason to 1N why this world is good for black people?
Our argument is that in this debate space uniquely, to ensure that obviously you reading the app does not mean
I have to defend
ends.
structures that want me to die.
That's not our argument.
No, I'm just asking you. Should I have to defend structures?
Yes, I'm answering your question.
I should ask.
No, I'm answering your question.
Okay, it's a yes
Our argument is not that you should have.
It's a yes or no question. 3, 2, 1.
You are not defending the state within the.
I'm not. I said fuck that. But I'm asking you, should I be forced to defend structures that want me to die? Yes or no?
No.
Is it ethical?
No, you don't.
No.
We don't defend you. We don't force you to defend structures that want you to die.
Can you repeat the inter for me?
The inter.
Yeah.
Topical affirmatives must defend that colleges and universities ought not consider standardized tests in undergraduate.
Were there any responses to the Dumas evidence?
The Dumas evidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first card, right? Yeah. So we say that the model of debate that we propose is one that talks about how you say that all education systems are bad, but we say that our model makes debate space in which it's uniquely good for engagement.
All right. I'll stop forever. Alright, stop prep with 210 left. Oh wait, take it. Right there. 210.
How much prep was left?
I have 210 left. Order is case T. Whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Is there a doc?
Actually, there's one card that I'm going to send in the body. I'm not going to read it. It's just to show that Willis's evidence was miscut, and that's a problem because he's black. Yeah. So just be suspect of claims, things like that. You can read the evidence sometime on your own time. Pretty disrespectful. Alright. Anybody not ready? Alright.
Extended performance, we guard offenses because it should be taken seriously. Can't expose white and allow black people to voice who have conceded it. Proves that in the white world, my voice is ignored my performance. Obviously, you don't give a shit about extended song. It's evident black lives don't matter. This world over. Police and niggas getting our dads locked up. Eventually, boys like me bound to be shot or lack of system wants me dead. Designed for us to fail. See what niggas now extending outside the literally economy means that communication not level playing field for black. But it's all slavery, supplementations, more violence. You're also going to float on totally because I always 100% check the league. Completely conceded things like gratuitous violence, state of the nation, general dishonor. The fact that black people are being shot like 20 times for absolutely no reason. The fact that we have no culture ties to Africa, these are all conceded. This shows the impacts outweigh the one they see now on the leprosy, extended leprosy, communication, child black people, white, hyper responsible escape out of the shorting system because every response to anti-black uses the same anti-black remedy. Roll about be appearing out like serpent day, read account the roll about, but they conceded roll about means that everything in this round should be best frame of what is best for what is the best way to analyze black survey offer. Obviously defending anti-black structures would not be the best way to do that now. The only solution is black terrorists will weaponize the black systems away from white hyper in the short world order so blacks will seek to operate signified as whiteness. That was conceded. The only solution to anti-blackness is black tears, and we say that the way that we do this by not defending the topic by saying fuck your nose, fuck your t-shirt, fuck all that means that you have to see the way to solve anti-blackness, black terrorism so far. You can see that this argument that no matter what you win on T, you were anti-black, and there's no way you can solve it. Let's go to line by line. Dare only respond to Dumas' evidence from lies to the baby and good. We're gonna prove that the debate is bad. That's mean that Dumas still outweighs the 100% strength link means that all education systems defending the topic will be anti-black now. These there's no impact to have. Really, niggas being shot and excluded has no impact. We'll just vote you down right there because that's race. Next is that the fact that you forced me to defend structures that don't give a damn about me also obviously has some sort of impact to it. There's a reason I don't want to defend now. You say all you think about all this work within the university. However, at one point, this reason this work is discredited, then you were telling me not the reason. I'm reading T 2 point. Yes, but there's a reason why they're in the university writing about the shit because it's still a structural issue now. Their reason debate is good is to engage. It's about engagement, preparation, all that shit about like discussions. However, this assumes that communication is good in the first place. On Anderson, we say from the reason like maroon abolition, slavery from Haiti, or just an office for alternative. The problem with whiteness, you'll sort of non-equal, also an issue to alternative solve on T. Before we think about the line debate, the next question is whether debate should exist, but debate is anti-black sexual activity, logical slavery, communicated sphere of slavery, slave. Blackness will not seen as a part of the features of pioneer, but asserted features. Slaves not proper to kind of pick, rather use and found the continuation of civil society. Turn fairness and preserve the anti-black church. That is debate. Their advocacy skills and recollections of education. They teach us the use of turn education. There is a structural barrier to the utility of education of blacks and communicators who are cross-applied to any arguments. The world is structured by communication to make the world better, leaving the slave farther behind means that their arguments are anti-black both in form and content. 2 arguments answer the question of why should the world exist at all. This is conceded that one and don't give them 2 hour response to this or lose the debate. Now, if we prove that the form proceed of friends, right, you reject the content of the argument because form outweighs content. Now, second, I need to justify counter competing interests. We should find the best on the debate, but the debate should not exist at all. Third, double blind, TV and switch out debate. Any of these regions are there's a by 8 point that fails, which means the app needs to be non-topical. B point the TVA, so switch out debate solved as all to me prove that I could have been unfair, chose not to because I'm embracing black terrorism. Before they get the way case they blind, they need to prove that the warrants are unfair. The only reason you cannot engage is because the app's not presented in the traditional B point. Blacks are bound to hate the blacks. You can, yes, it's possible for you to have some sort of preparation or somehow some sort of engagement within this debate round, but it's impossible for me to have experience in life that is not bound to anti-blacks. It's impossible for me to live a world not by anti-blacks. I rolled out waste theory 1 point. Theory speaks at fair education, but those things cannot adjust the anti-black world 2 point. Is that robot is about to roll out theories about this round now? It also used in the form of a content argument. Now you say William institution running 1.0 warrant. I know this comes from Wilson, but Lily says nothing. It's just assert that we can do both. The other critique denies this. Only says the warrant. This is a revolution. Now read the card and the fact that they miscut means they should be down on site for falsely cut. Now one point is you say we should defend policy, but you say we should learn about them. We have learned that they're anti-black. Now you say optimism, but this is cruel optimism because it's an invitation to more violence and oppression. Now you say Wilson worked in the paper too. Once again, it doesn't explain this proof. Also, people like you misreading, miscutting stuff, and so this means absolutely nothing. Now, I should presume debate is good, but there's no reason coming out that want to say why debate is good for black people.
What were the arguments against switch side again?
So there's a double line. It's either switch side debate TVA cannot solve, means I have to be topical, or it can solve, and we're like, alright, thanks, that's offense for me because that's the way I'm embracing black terrorism. Yes, I could have been fair. Yes, I could have done something else, but I said fuck that. I'm gonna get water. Do you need me to frame your questions? Alright.
What was the argument that you said we can prep? You said we could prep. What was that?
It's possible for you to have some sort of preparation or engagement with the AF. You've read cards. Like, I saw you prepping in here with your Greenhill squad for like 3 hours. Obviously, you had some way to prep. However, it is impossible for me to experience a world that is not anti-black. Whether I'm in this room or not, anti-blackness still occurs, and there's no way for me to go about that and not talk about it. Like, that's just impossible.
T case.
TK's right.
Yep.
Anything new?
No.
I can do that. Alright.
Everyone good? T case. Alright. Accept their interpretation that top affirmatives must defend that in the United States colleges and universities are not considered certain access and undergraduate admission distance only. The actual resolution allows for predictable prep on both sides of the topic and provides both debaters with a reasonable opportunity to engage with one another's argument. It's not a question of the forms of the 1AC being good, but rather that the content being the reason that they should lose. We were unable to adequately anticipate the F solely from reading of the resolution. Only our intent does not require any type of style or type of evidence. The topic is a limit on the form to determine the debate subject matter. There's an overlap between the content and the non-topical F, and the content of the resolution, which means that you should have defended that instead of what you defend, which means that the TVA solves all of their offense. If you win that our model in which debaters defend the topic is good, you should immediately negate. They did not read a counter-interpret because it's a question of competing models of debate. You should immediately err heavily negative on the question of which model actually looks better, because we've delineated what a world in which people defend topical plans looks like. Their world is just challenging structures within the world, but they have no real reason as to what that looks like in the real world. They defend an analysis of black suffering, which is the violation and not a real thing. The exclusionary rule also means that they can't weigh the impacts of the app versus the tailor. Their only argument is that the role of the ballot comes before theory, but they've conceded that theory is a procedural. So insofar as there isn't any spillover claims that the app and what that they don't challenge the way that police code for black people in the real world, that means that they don't win. Just because they read the 1AC in this debate round does not mean that police brutality immediately ends. They're just challenging it in this debate space. And even if word gets out that they win the tournament, that does not mean that the way that white people look and ontologize blackness is completely destroyed, which means that there is no solvency or spillover claim. It means that topicality determines whether they can weigh the case, and you should negate if we win that our model is the one which is the most accessible and allows everyone to the best education to be taken away, because it's about competing definitions and multiple topical debate, which means don't allow them reasonability, because it invites too much judge bias on the line below. First extent Sternberg and Freely, the app can pick infinitely many critically scholarly articles to base their performance off of, and we will never be able to predict and prep for all of them ahead of time. They said that we can prep because we were in the room for 3 hours, but no, we were figuring out how to engage with your app, and there was no way, which is why we had to tell you that you could not read your app in this debate round, which is not the form of engagement. We want to talk about the advocacy in particular and debate the nuances, so we can find the best strategies to implement policies in the real world. Debate over a state's point is key to decision making. Only debate about what should be done teaches us the decisions about looking at both pragmatic consequences and philosophical values. The resolution gives an accessible point to practice these skills, which we should use every day and take away to debate in the real world. We couldn't debate about any particular person should do, because there's a constant reporting on academic work for us to draw on. I'm going for ideas testing, precluding a culture of argumentation turns debate into monologues. The impact is idea testing. That always first is class debate over an iterative process where each team tests their arguments against each other. You should presume that the 1AC was false because we weren't able to test idea testing matters, because it allows us to play the devil's advocate and view truth claims with skepticism. We never get there perfectly, but this is a good form of education that allows us to arrive at the contingent truths that inform our actions external to debate. This process of academic argument, revision, all those to empathize and create agreements with people. That turns the absent debates with well-considered dialogue that advocacy will collapse when faced with pushback outside of debate. Only our model encourages students to prepare for the difficult debates we have when we leave the community. Second is dogma. Their model of debate scripts argumentative culture and creates group polarization. People tend to seek out others with similar views to discuss ideas without engaging in the deliberative dialogue provided by debate. There will be no increased emergence of ideologies and violence as groups don't even consider the same team as worthy as being at the argument table, which turns out there are arguments as to why debate is bad. Debate is definitely good because the only way that we can talk about their strategies is if we were able to engage and find the best solution possible, which means filter their offensive debates unique value of contestation. Reading a book or attending a lecture acts as that things like knowledge about a particular subject or form of activism. Only within debate do we engage on others' arguments or forced to think like your opponent's proof. Our impact outweighs in their thing about their argument about why reading this app in this debate uniquely is turned. This also turns the entirety of the case because racist conservatives frame their social views as reasonable. The absence of convincing public advocates from others' perspective. The seeding of the political is the cause of oppression in its current form. The prison, industrial classics class, educational budgets, and gentrification of urban areas all result in the public's apparent disconnected from the politics. And the TVA solves all their offense. Their double-blind argument is nonsense. It says that if the TVA doesn't solve it, that means that they should affirm. But you should frame it as if the TVA solves their offense, that they should defend their topic. They conceded the thesis of the TVA, which says that learning about the intricacies of college and universities' policies is uniquely capable of effective change outside of the debate debates at CUS, and students were able to advocate for the chancellor's authoritarian rule by making gender studies class a requirement in school when it was banned, and advocated for more resources due to that our model actually leads to skills that you can take away into the portable world and fix problems like the one that they violated. Wilderson also said that political reform is good with solve because it is in the context of their literature. They say that we mishighlighted. They said that we mishighlighted the card, but they only highlighted the part that talks about police brutality. Our claim is that you can't solve police brutality. We must still work within institutions to solve this. They also say that we make them, we force them to be the same, but this is not our argument. We say defend colleges and universities, which is distinct from the United States of America, which means that we don't force you to defend someone that wants you to die. Wilderson also said that political reform is good with solves because it is in the context of the radical demands that make, and learning the insights of colleges and universities is key to bringing down systems of power, which is not applicable. The SAT was part of an anti-black legacy designed to sustain social death and solves our offense because it's an application of the Wednesday theory to a concrete context, which is a particular demand, which is not incompatible with broader revolutionary goals. Only making these demands can actually lead to change. And even if the TVA doesn't solve all their offense, that just means that there's no ground available in a debate where the act can justify their theory of power and defend the topic. We rarely advocate for perfect ideals in the real world, so forcing the act to grapple with the limitations and wade through the complexity of overcoming these flaws first effective advocacy, which turns all their offense. So they said that debate shouldn't exist, but this turns the act because they're literally in the debate space right now. Even if they win and show that debate shouldn't exist because it's anti-black, this does not change the debate space insofar as the world still exists and we are debating on how to make the world a better place. That means that you should default to our model. They say cruel optimism in the card is miscut, but this is obviously not true. You should look at the card itself. It just talks about the parts that highlighted. It's just about police brutality. We say that this is distinct from colleges and universities. They say communication, the world shouldn't exist, but we should confront the reality that the world does exist, and we should have the model of debate which makes it the best. And also on the app, first, presume negative performance of the 1AC does not do anything for the debate person or any create any real change in the world. Their app and the scholarship has been read before and does not do anything. There's no spillover to the real world. They do not solve anything. Voting out does not lead to the end of the world. And second, Wilderson was only able to establish a theory of power by working within the academy because this is the only area where students can develop and harness the necessary skills to create change. Our model allows for deliberative dialogues necessary to disrupt structures by working within the academy, which means that they cannot solve their own impacts.
What's the argument right before still?
The app scholarship has been read.
Oh yeah. Taste tea. Anybody not ready?
The question is whether we do anything for solving anti-blacks outside of the world. Too bad they have conceded to left two evidence shows black terrorism is the solution is combating anti-blacks, not just within the bases, within the world writ large. No matter what you buy in their argument, they have conceded this argument outweighs 100% link shows that we are the better solution to anti-blacks around the world. Now next that they make an argument on that we this was read before. How don't worry, this is not just true. However, this is just almost to me shows that I am rushing the bases by winning on this app. I'm fucking up to the bases because I'm saying fuck you know I'm not winning with this just literally off to me. Next that they say no spill over. However, they have conceded our framing argument. They have conceded 1 point, the roll about 2 point, the black terrorism argument. So this is a solution of how it spills over outside the bases. You can throw the argument out all you want about how there's no spillover, but you can see this just two argument that this decision absolutely means nothing. Next is that you say that they work within the academy. However, we're solving a larger structural issue of anti-blackness, i.e. the communication issue with anti-blacks is solved with the app. This is our spillover claim. Now they have conceded all of our reasons why, although they're in the university, this means absolutely nothing. Yes, there's a reason though, yes, but there's a reason Wilson working discredited. 2 point is that yes, this means that because the university right about this shows the severity of anti-blacks and how it will always be a problem. On T. There's no unique reason why debate is good for niggas in any other speech. Debate is an extension of product of slavery. Your battle will be refused to invest in it. Anti-black traits that is debate. Black communication always considered worthless because blacks are seen as intimate sort of feature rather than create. No feature because still say little investment for blacks. Whites not only get labor from black slaves, but I also gain symbols of honor and purity. Whiteness desire for these symbols are made possible through blackness. White enslaved plead. The plantation resulted with more violence. Shows black communication drowned out. Links to T because the former T presumed debate is good, but debate is a communicative activity will mean debate is structured inaccessible black bodies necessitating black here to disrupt. Next to that, that's why we win this argument. Even if they win nitpicking technical issues, we have impact turn deformed that every single one of their argument presupposes we have impact turn every single valid argument. Their whole argument that we should have a protective and fair debate, but they have no one to salvaging a fair intellect debate. This is a good thing. We're in the plenty for debate within our evidence indicated no black liberation happens to their country. Now consider roll about when they have conceded that they have conceded 3 roll about ways. 1 point is that 4 always confident. The content means that all of their everything in the 2 hours intellect because it relies on the communication which is intellect. 2 points that the roll about is about the world. Well, these about this round which we takes that fear and education things cannot happen in spaces that are anti-black and we're winning that be anti-black. Line by line. One that you say we don't change the base, so you're going to cross the black terrorist argument. 2 points that you said the team they solved, but no, it's all to me because it's true that yes, I could have been unfair. I could have been fair, but I chose not to because that's black terrorism. Next that you said sleep was political, but that's not any political argument. Next that your card, Wilson said that we can reform police regimes while also working for the end of the world, but you don't even reform police regimes, so there's no reason to vote on that. Next that you cross by the rule about agree, cross by the rule about on their idea testing because they just conceded means that it means that if anything that's not pure analysis of anti-blacks, i.e. idea testing, whatever discussion they want will fail to solve as anti-black. Next they say working away institution is good, but they have conceded that institutions will always be anti-black and this will not solve. They say it's called universities, but not the state, but there's no extension to democracy, which show the college universities are still anti-black. Next all the arguments presume that this debate is good because limits and predictability, all that put hope in debate, but debate is not good for black people. Draw a line in the 2 and R that shows debate is good for black people.